Welcome back to the Ride and Laugh podcast. If you love mountain biking, you are in the right place. Picture your last really fun group ride. You're back at the parking lot. The stoke is high. Everyone's talking about bikes, tech, nutrition, jumps, berms, drops. That's what we talk about here every week on the Ride and Laugh podcast. You love bikes. We love bikes. Let's drop in. Sage, how are you today?
Danny, I'm having a good one, buddy. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I had to purposely take taints out of the intro. I had a big bolded taints in the intro from last week. And this week, as I'm going through it, I'm like, do I say taint here? Or no taints.
There's no taint.
No taints.
Yes.
We're moving on. No taint.
I'm dreaming of the day when we don't even bring up taint doesn't even enter the podcast.
As are our listeners. Yes. They're like, oh, guys, not again, please.
Oh, boy.
Last week with the kitchen and the cooking of the taints, like, do we really need to do this again? The answer is yes, and you're here for it.
Oh, yeah. Hey, I have an interesting, it's not even a statement or a question, but I guess it's kind of a question for you. I was looking over our podcast stats, and it gave the top 3 countries that our listeners are from. Now, the first one is obviously the US. Can you guess the other top 2 countries?
Number 2, Canada.
Interesting.
Number 3, Tasmania. I know we have quite a bit of Tasmanian.
Tasmania.
A lot of Kiwis.
Okay.
Is Tasmania a country? It is, right?
Isn't
a hard line there? There's a hard line, Tasmania.
Yeah, but that's Australia.
Is it Australia or New Zealand, or is Tasmania its own country? Oh man.
No, I think I don't think it's its own country, but I could be wrong.
No.
So your guess is Canada and Australia / New Zealand? No.
I'm gonna go Canada, and I'm gonna go UK. I don't know.
You are correct. Canada is on the list, but it is actually number 3. The number 2 spot goes to Brazil. What?
Brazil?
Yes.
Yo. Oh man, we need to get down there. We need to do some mountain biking in Brazil and Canada, for that matter.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Brazil. That's fantastic. Thank you, everyone in the United States. Thank you, everybody around the world, for listening. That's awesome. I wanted to ask you about something that you referred to a couple times. With you say you're saying you haven't been able to ride a lot recently, and so you're questioning your fitness. Yeah. So I know you to be a really fit guy, and I know that you put a lot of work into your fitness, and I know when you put the work in, it translates, and if you do lose fitness, you get it back. But how long do you think we need to be off the bike before we start to like have a noticeable drop in fitness?
Oh, I did a video a while back on my Trail Sage channel, and it's actually quite quickly. I forget what the person I was interviewing said, but it was close to like 2 to 5% within like the first week or 2 if you're not doing anything, and then it steadily drops. I was quite astonished. I was like, oh, you could probably go 2 weeks and not notice any kind of deficiency. Now, the caveat, or I don't know if that's the right word, but you get that back very quickly. It's not like 2%, 5% lost forever. Like you can gain that all back very quickly just by doing even just a little bit of exercise. But yeah, you do get a drop off, which I notice that when I take a 2-week break, I feel my heart rate. This is why I track my heart rate. Like I can definitely see the drop in numbers, and that can be frustrating. It can be frustrating, but it's also exciting to see that come back quickly, because we are athletes, we're not starting from scratch.
So when you feel like you're not as fit, your heart rate is higher for rides?
Yeah. If I'm not in good shape, my heart rate goes higher, and more importantly, I have a hard time getting it back down. And when I train, I'm not trying to hold power forever as a mountain biker. What I need is to get up that climb, and then I need to descend down that downhill. And while I'm on that downhill, I need to get my heart rate as low as possible. So those are the numbers that I actually care about.
What about when you take 2 weeks off of the bike? Like I've taken weeks off of the bike and I've had recovery weeks. Like Trainer Road fits in recovery rides. And when I come back, I oftentimes, because I'm rested, I feel really good.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you're still doing something. I have not even done recovery rides like this these past couple of weeks, actually it's been a few weeks. I have not been able to get out on many rides, and the rides that I am getting out on aren't cardiovascularly. Wow, I can't say that word, but you know what I'm trying to say. Challenging, and that's fine. I've approached every single ride with grace. Like I'm not expecting anything, and actually I do that with a lot of my rides. When I'm going out on my road rides, those are very specific. Like I am supposed to hurt. I am supposed to not enjoy it, although I kind of enjoy it. When I go out on a weekend ride, like you and I used to like cherish those, and it was like, oh, we're doing this many miles, and it's going to be this many feet of elevation, and we got to keep moving. And I stopped doing that a long time ago, and now my weekend rides are who am I riding with, and let's enjoy that time. If we're having to stop, and wait for people, no big deal. If we're sessioning, no big deal. If it's a hammerfest, no big deal. I want to be ready for all of it, but it's about fun.
Are you less motivated because we don't live next to each other anymore?
Because
there was a big portion of us that both of us that was like, Sunday comes along, like I got to keep up with Sage. I got to keep up with Dan. Yeah, I think that was like a big driving force.
Yeah. But you know what though? Yes, to answer your question, yes. But I also think that you and I had started transitioning before you left to Arizona to sessioning more. We started like before, I would say probably a year or two before you left for Arizona, we started getting into like bigger hits, bigger drops, bigger jumps, bigger tech moves. And those require
things you wanted to look at.
You have to look at. Exactly. So, and that kind of riding changed our whole perspective on riding. It was no longer about how many miles. It was about just being able to do it all. That was the goal,
Yeah, that was the transition from we're just going to go out and have as much fun as possible. And at that time, it meant the two of us riding new features, skinnies, jumps, whatever it was, and having patience with that and realizing like, okay, we're taking time. We're not just hammering XC trails the whole time. We're taking time to look at these and do these, and that's really fun. And then that opened up all right, let's just have maximum fun. And listener, everyone's different spots with mountain biking, and each ride is its own thing.
Yeah,
I still like being able to go out and hammer and do long distances and make climbs. There's rides I've gone on where it's like, today there's 3 climbs that I want to try to get. Your Gold Canyon video is going to have dropped by the time that everyone's listening to this podcast. You can go on Trail Sage and watch the two of us riding Gold Canyon. I totally recommend doing so. And when I do that ride, there's 2 climbs in there that I'm like, I want to see how far I can get. I want to be able to see if I can get these 2 climbs. There's the one that we did together, the Cojones climb.
Ooh,
right?
Yeah. Hoodoo to Cojones. Woo, yeah.
Hoodoo. Yeah, Hoodoo. Yeah. The Hoodoo climb. That's right. And then there's another one I didn't take you on yet, which is the Quartz Ridge climb. And I've got that one a couple times.
Okay.
It's not as technical, but it's longer. And it's beautiful up there. So, but there's certain rides that it's just like, this is my goal. It's a fitness thing, and there's tech in there. I mean, those are technical climbs also.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, you and I, that's how our friendship started. Like you and I always loved to push. When I first joined that meetup group, and this has nothing against the meetup groups or any kind of a group, but those rides are more casual. And I've always been someone that's wanted to push the envelope, and we kind of slowly separated ourselves from the group and started our own group because we were into different things and into pushing each other really hard and not taking breaks at top of climbs. And that's always been a part of our riding. Even with the sessioning, we're still pushing each other, maybe not in a cardiovascular sense. Oh, I said it that time. And it's just and it's good natured. I mean, that's a fun challenge. If I look back and you're right on my wheel, I'm like, all right, let's push this harder, and if I drop you, I'm like, who's going to get on the trainer and work harder now? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, absolutely. And I still I'm developing that relationship with some of my friends out here.
Yeah.
In particular, Jeff Windsor, who's, a beast of a climber, and Joe Mullen, who's a beast of a climber. There's several like just unbelievable next level athletes that are out here. And yeah, to be able to hold their wheel or try to hold their wheel or try to get a climb. And then you throw in the technical nature of it. Just being fit is just so much fun. I put all this time in the trainer and you put all this time on the road, and I don't know, to me, it's just worth it. Like, it just feels good, whether you're just running laps or you want to be able to hammer up a hill. It's just fun.
You know what's frustrating? I mean, that's not the right word, but I'm going to use it anyway. You know what's frustrating about like Joe, Jeff, and those guys? Like I used to be able to say like, oh, all right, they might get me on the climb, but I'll get them on the downhill. Or, they got me on the climb, I'll get them on the downhill. You ain't getting any of these guys. Like, they're going to beat you up the hill, and then they're going to beat you down the hill. Yeah.
It's guys, if you're listening, you can slow down a little bit once in a while. Let us feel good about ourselves. Come on. Seriously, we always said Mount Penn was the great equalizer. We would meet people and they would be like, they would hammer the attack at certain trails, and we would like take them to Mount Penn, and it's so rocky and technical that would slow them down, or they would be like awesome downhillers, but they couldn't sustain on the Mount Penn climbs.
I know.
But then there was a few guys that we rode with.
Oh yeah.
That just killed both directions. And look, people like that they're there to push us, and there's people that are better than them that push them, and inspire us. I mean, I think it's awesome. Our sport is so cool. There's always room for progression in everything that we do. So
right on.
Awesome. We got a lot to talk about this week because we actually have comments from 2 podcasts that I want to get into. Last podcast, we only got into one question. All right, we're talking about episode 18, which was Ride Aggressively Centered, Mountain Bike Brake Secrets, and Positive Self-Talk for More Flow.
Yeah.
That was 2 episodes ago where we were talking about braking, and we were talking about my crash on the Old Man Trail. And
that's right.
How Jeff Windsor had suggested at the bottom, he said that he really is not using his front brake when it gets sketchy.
That's right.
And so Jeff, responding to our conversation there, says, I didn't realize, talking to me, Dan, I didn't realize our casual braking conversation would be so impactful. I'm always listening, Jeff. You're a brilliant mountain biker. My mindset with this is right in line with your keep them rolling mantra. 90% of the time, I'm using both brakes for full power. I focus on the rear only when it's an awkward tech section where I don't want the front wheel to dive into a hole or a wheel trap. 29ers will roll through more than we realize if we let them. Like Sage said, the rear wheel is in the past. You could have the rear wheel sideways and the bike is most likely going to make it through. Get your front wheel sideways, however, and it's a whole other story.
Yeah. That was a fantastic comment. It was a fantastic suggestion by Jeff. Again, someone that is very insightful and has been riding for a while and saw that in you. And I would have never thought about the fork diving. But I also share his same sentiment. I do not squeeze that front brake nearly as much as I squeeze that. I don't mind the back tire sliding out on me, and I try not to use much front brake when I'm doing technical features.
I remember when I did that Dirt Smart course with Andy, that bike coaching. It was years and years and years ago, and he would say rear brake to slow down. Not even a slow down. Just if you're going down a hill and it's fast, you're going downhill.
That's right.
And you just want to keep the speed you're at. Just use your rear wheel.
That's right.
Your rear wheel brake.
Yes.
And I kind of forgot about that. And I think I always just squeeze both brakes together and I modulate. So when I was at Gold Canyon a couple weeks ago, I was going down that Kahuna slab that's in your video.
Yeah.
And really trying to focus on just feeling the front brake when I needed it, using the rear brake. But it's different. This is what I want to ask you about, because it's different when you're going down a fast, spicy section like the Old Man Trail.
Yes.
Versus when you're creeping down a super long, steep slab.
Right.
I've heard mountain bike instruction on the steep slab that says you should be using your front brake. That's most of your braking power is on a steep slab, is on the front brake. Versus what we're talking about, which is going fast down a spicy section and not using the front brake. Can you speak on that a little bit?
Yes. The Old Man Trail, first of all, for those that aren't watching on the YouTube, it is a very loose trail. So it's in stark contrast to what we're talking about with slabs. On one hand, the slab is just one giant rock. There's traction galore. On a loose trail like Old Man, you can grab as much brake as you want. It really isn't going to make much of a difference. In fact, when you lock up your tires is when you're going to run into the most issues. That is not what happened to you, by the way. I watched your video more and more, and you washed. I noticed that the rider in front of you actually used the rock to make the turn. Like it was very cool. You used the rock as a berm, which is something that I wanted to do as one of my mountain bike tips in the past. I think I've told you this, that I'll use rocks in the trails to help turn. Yes. So, you had a slight wash. I don't think it was as a question of brake. It's just, if we were going to talk about brakes in loose terrain, you definitely do want to just focus on the back tire to slow you down, not to stop, to slow you down. It's like, oh boy, this is getting sketchy. Just back brake. On a slab, this is really interesting stuff. And I'm watching and I'm studying the hell out of these videos now that I'm working on that Gold Canyon video. And you're right. If you want to stop on a slab, you would use your front brake. The problem is the slabs that we're hitting at angles. And that's the issue. When you went down on that hoodoo slab, you went down because you had, first of all, you were using both your brakes. You had to let go. Yep. You had to let go of your brake to get down. And you didn't. You got scared and you went to stop.
I did not keep them rolling.
You did not.
On that feature, you have to, so it's a really steep slab, but it's at an angle and you have to make a turn into it.
Right.
And the same thing happened to me on the hog slab. I'm okay approaching a slab straight on, but when I have to turn into it and keep them rolling. I did not have my mantra going that day, obviously. Keep them rolling. There is a moment there where you just can't be slow and creep in control. You have to commit.
Right.
You have to commit. It's like a jump, right? Or a turn, like you have to commit to it. And I just wasn't willing to do that. And paradoxically, I crashed because I wasn't willing to commit.
Right.
Because I could
both of those.
envision making that turn and doing it, but my brain wouldn't allow it. And I need to let those wheels keep on rolling.
Right. So and this is, and again, I don't know how much you wanted to talk about the Old Man loose trail versus slabs. I'm not very good in loose conditions, so I can't really speak to that, but I am pretty good on slabs, and slabs have levels. And if it's a straight on slab at 45 degrees or something like that, you can modulate your brakes and control your speed all the way down. When you start getting to those slabs that are near vertical, I'm talking 50, 60% grade. You look down, it's like, oh, your brakes won't do anything. You can squeeze them all you want. You ain't stopping. And so at that point, it's like, you got to just let those things go, because the more you brake, the less control you have. Which is it's such an odd thing to say, but it really is. It's safer to just actually let it go. And one of the things that you and I had been talking about for a while before even the pod topic came up was, how slow you go on some of these slabs. And we had talked about the other slab on the Cojones trail, and how, if you looked at how slow you did it versus how fast Jeff did it, and it's remarkable, the difference. And yours, I can hear your brakes squealing and sliding down that rock the whole time. Jeff, I didn't hear his brakes once. Yeah. He looked so in control, and yet he's going so much faster. No right. Exactly. Yeah. And so, and when he is braking, it's at the right times, and he's able to control the bike and control his speed. Because at the very end of that, there's a G out, you have to make this move. Right. But he's controlled and he's able to make that. But it's all just letting go of that control. And that's the part that I think your brain seems to struggle with the most. It's like, okay, this is the time to actually let it go. It's safer to let it go, that's insane. Yeah. That's insane to say that. Yeah. And isn't life like that also, right? Sometimes we're overthinking something, and it's just going to go a lot smoother if you just let it go. Just trust it. Yes. Skills are in there. I have the skills to do these features. I totally have the skills. I can envision it. It's not like I'm looking at it and saying, oh, I don't know. I look at it and I'm like, yeah, I can do this. And then I get into it, and my need to control actually hampers my ability to trust my skills and go with the flow and get it done. And same thing happens in life. Sometimes, we overthink so much that we're not able to actually just let things flow and happen.
and yeah, flow feels good.
Yeah, the same thing happens on jumps, Danny. How many times have we done a jump and we're casing the heck out of it, and we're like, and when we finally clear it, we're like, why didn't we just let it go from the start? Like landing it safely feels so much better than casing it, you know?
Yeah.
So
and I've ridden a lot of difficult tech out here where I've let it go.
Yes.
You know, where I've let it go and I'm rolling and I'm keep them rolling and I feel better. So, but I like really steep slabs are still something that give me pause.
Yeah.
You know, technique wise, I'm just like, I'm just not exactly sure. So if you're not using the brakes on the really steep slabs, you said these things have levels. Like if a level 1 is something that you can roll down comfortably and a level 10 is a wall, right?
Wow. Yeah. 10
levels. So you're not using the brakes. How many levels you want?
I was thinking like 4. I don't know. You're going to go 10?
4 levels?
10 levels of slabs?
Yeah.
I don't even think I know 10 slabs.
Listeners, how many levels of slabs do you think we should have? I mean, we always complain that the green, blue, black, double black isn't enough, right, to rate trails. So
no,
I mean, if we're just going to do,
no, I think that's enough. I think that's enough. Yeah.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. I wish that there was more.
I don't complain about that at all.
I wish that there was more consistency between those levels. And by the way, there's also pro. So you have pro, double black, black, blue, green, and then there's tech and
double
flow.
Black. Oh yeah. Oh, so double black and pro is harder than double black. Okay.
Yeah, that's usually denoted by a red square or double red squares.
Yeah, the red.
Yes. Yeah. But there's no consistency. You know, your black trail in Arizona is like a double black over here on the East Coast in some cases, you know, and it varies per place. We're going way in the wrong direction here, but my point is,
right. Okay, listeners, how many levels of slabs should there be?
4, dude. 10 levels.
He wants 4. I want 10. You have a lot of different lengths. You have different degrees. You have some slabs that are smooth. Some have bumps in them, right? Some slabs have moves to do in them.
Rock, slate,
slab gumbo, slab kebabs. Here we go again. Any younger listeners are going to have to watch Forrest Gump now to understand the last 2 parts.
Great movie. Yes. Box of chocolates. Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So a level 4 slab where you're not using your brakes, it's all body position.
It really is, Danny, which is another thing that you and me, both of us are currently working on, especially when these slabs get to be really steep. We're talking a level 4 slab. You know, your rear end wants to go back. You're like, holy crap, you know, and you're pushing back from those bars.
Away from the danger. Yeah.
Yep. And what we learned when we went to Natalie is none of those guys, they were all, by the way, pro level, like just so talented.
Natalie, Pennsylvania.
Yes.
Just the guys that we rode with. And there's a trail stage
Aaron,
video on
Patrick,
it.
Rylan. I mean, the list goes on and on. These guys were unbelievable. Not a single one of them were back on their bikes. In fact, they were aggressively forward to the point where I was just like, oh my gosh. Yeah. It was mind blowing. And that changed everything for me. That day, that ride up my level to the point where it's like, okay, now I'm working on, this is something that I'm actively working on every day. It's amazing how much more control you have when you're centered on the bike. Not I think the thing that people are most used to hearing is weight over the bottom bracket. Keep your weight over the bottom bracket. That's where you get in trouble. Because if you try and keep your weight over the bottom bracket on these steep slabs, your rear end is going to be behind your back tire. So that's actually incorrect. The correct thing to do is to be centered on your bike. If you took a still shot of, you know, Patrick going down this slab and you turn that shot completely so that the slab was on a horizon, he would look like he was riding on flat ground. That's how centered he is on that bike.
So that weight on the bottom bracket tip is incorrect?
On a level 4 slab, yes. I love that, like, we're this level 4 thing has become a thing all of a sudden. Oh, level 4 slab? Yeah.
I mean, level 10. Yeah, level 4, yeah. Yeah, everyone knows level 4 slabs. I remember that. If watching those guys, and you did a really cool breakdown on that with the angles and showing their body position and watching those guys on those incredibly steep slabs. And I do really pay attention when I watch YouTube, mountain bike YouTube of what people look like going down these things.
I do the same thing.
Yeah, they're in their attack position. Their chin is forward. They're not hanging way off the back.
Yeah, it's incredible.
So yeah, I'm trying to understand the physics of how that works.
Well,
I mean, I guess your weight still is on your bottom bracket.
Yeah. And Danny, there's more than that, right? It's not just being good body position. You're like, they know the line, right? They know the entrance and they know the exit, right? Is there a G out? What's the run out? You know? So it's like, they know they don't have to brake, or if they have to brake or make a move, they're already aware of it. This isn't like their first go at it. So it's not just attack position. It's also knowing the slab. You know, if this is your first time and you can't walk down the slab because it's that steep or that long, make sure you have the intel. Ask somebody, hey, is there a G out at the bottom? What's the run out? Is it straight out? You know, there was one slab at Natalie that had a really aggressive turn at the end. You know, those guys weren't going slow and braking. They were aggressively positioned, and they were actually using that berm and just like really like, you know, right through that. So the key that I wanted the listeners to know that it isn't just attack position. And these guys are setting up way back. They were rolling into the slab as slow as possible because they knew at some point the brakes weren't going to matter. And then it was just all about getting your eyes up and focused, and you're ready for whatever it's about to happen. So yes, body position, all of that.
If you're in that good body position, you're in that attack position, and then there's a G out, which means there's a harsh transition between the steepness of the slab and the ground. So you're in that position, the body position will kind of take care of the G out, right? As long as you don't go too far back, if you're in that balanced position, then the bike should transition to the ground pretty well, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's, by the way, there's no worse feeling than a G out. Like it's like the worst way to end any kind of feature. When you're just like, oh, you know, it's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
It's so jarring. But when you're in a good position and you have your eyes up, sometimes you can mitigate how much that G out has an effect. You know, there's a great example when we went to Blue Mountain Reserve, and the end of that Ned Flanders or that Ned something slab had a huge G out. And I knew it was coming. I could see because Chris was in front of me. And Chris, I saw him jolt. And so at the last moment, I actually pulled up on the bike and mitigated a little bit of that G out. Again, that doesn't happen if I'm not in the right body position. You know, if I'm all the way back on my bike like this, how are you going to pull up?
Right.
How can you pull? You can't pull up on the bike. As well as if you hit that G out and I'm all the way back, where can you go? You end up becoming a giant like pendulum. You know, where your bike hits the apex and then you just start teetering forward because there's nowhere else to go.
That's a good way to put it.
Yes.
Right. The weight goes from one side to the other side. Yeah. Think about a car accident, right? If you're not wearing your seatbelt and there's something in the back seat, right? There's a bag in the back seat. The car suddenly stops. The bag's going to go flying forward. Well, if you're the bag on the bike,
love that,
and you suddenly stop, you're going to go flying forward.
Yeah, man.
You talked last week about focusing more on riding your body position, on being more forward. And we're joking like, when could that backfire? And, you know, I guess the backfire is going over the bars. Do you go over the bars? I can't remember a crash where you went over the bars.
Yeah.
Recently, at least. And so tell me about what you're practicing there. Like,
I have gone over the bars, but it does not happen that often. That is, I don't know why, but yeah, that is not a thing that I typically do. I know that I've had a few instances.
You want lessons on that? If you want lessons on that, by the way, I'm quite adept. Yeah, I could totally show you how to do it. Yeah, I'm quite adept at it. Because I got too far back. Because I'm too far back.
Yes.
That's most likely the issue. Yeah,
I had one over the bar recently. Actually, it wasn't that recent, but remember we were with Evan, and he caught my back wheel and saved me. Do you remember that? I was going off of a rock, and I started going over the bars. And as I was going over, he reached out and grabbed my back wheel and like saved me. It was the most incredible thing.
Yeah, that's
Thank
right.
you, Evan.
He is superhuman. He is superhuman.
Yeah,
he is amazing.
Another level talented. Yes, but But yes, no, I typically don't.
He's such a good rider that not only does he not crash, he prevents other people around him from crashing. He's got like a bubble of protection. Evan's a pro level rider. He's one of the best riders I've ever had the fortune of riding with, and one of the nicest guys also.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty incredible. He's so good at riding that he actually prevented you from crashing.
That's right. Yeah. But no, I typically do not go over the bars. And I think I attribute that to being in pretty good body position for most of my riding. I've always been a very upright person, and being upright always meant being in the center of my bike. Now I'm trying to work on getting lower and being, more aggressively pushed. I mean, centered, but as an up and down rider, I was always pretty centered on the bike. And so I don't think I had many over the bar instances.
Well, that's why I was surprised to hear you say that you were working on being more forward.
That's right.
Because I always saw you as someone who is very centered and very forward. But you think there's room for improvement there.
Yeah, it's that upright position that I can get more range of motion if I can just if I can hinge the hips a little bit more. I'm not saying, get my chin to rest on my bars. I'm not talking about that low. But
you're not talking about going more forward. You're talking about actually like hinging more, getting lower, and then just the fact that you're now hinging, your chin is closer to your handlebars because you're lower.
Yeah, we're talking,
and you have more room.
And I'm a small guy, so we're talking like 6 inches, 8 inches. I'm not looking to like really get down that low. I need to get a little bit lower. And so by doing that, I can get myself a little bit farther forward. I can now utilize my arms a little bit more and actually get aggressive with the bike, anticipate and move that bike where I need it to move. That's the goal for me.
Do you think that most of our listeners, do you think that most mountain bike riders should be working on that?
No, but if you want to get better, that style will certainly help you. On a flow trail, if you can learn to pump the trail. Again, we're not talking this drastic change. I'm talking like 6, 8 inches, a little bit lower. Now you get a little bit more range in your arms. You can pump more. That same technique can work on tech trails too. As you have a sharp drop off on a rock, and you quickly, aggressively push that wheel into that. The key is traction, Danny. That's all of the talk, the braking, the aggressive positioning, all of that is in the name of traction. I guess we should have started the conversation with that point. Everything that we're discussing now is about that. And that's the goal. And so would that help everybody? Of course. But there's levels to this stuff, right? There's levels to slabs. There's levels to riding technique.
How many levels of riding technique are there? Everything's 4 levels. It doesn't sound as impressive if we were to say this is like level 93, 94 stuff.
Yeah, we can't go that high. I was arguing 10 was too high. You just went 90. Yeah.
I know. It just sounds better. I'm just saying, I'm the marketing guy here. Yeah. Listen, guys, I love your 4 levels, but frankly, it doesn't have the zing. It doesn't sound very good. We'd like to increase it to 100.
Yeah, we can sell more if we go to 100. I think I know pages. Yeah.
Corporate wants us to increase the levels to 100, Sage. I mean, how do we want to handle this? Corporate Ride and Laugh is breathing down my nuts about this. The guys at the home office. They want more levels. Yeah. All right, listeners, let us know how many levels at Corporate Ride and Laugh. If you want to create an account and start writing in with suggestions, that would be fantastic. Also, really cool stuff, man.
Before we leave the conversation, because we kind of got away with.
I'm not leaving it.
Oh, good, because we never
have more questions.
Yeah, well, we never got back to you, which is you were asking about the slabs, and I think one of the things that I'd like to see you work on is the speed. I would like to see you do that Cajones slab. Cajones, I can't say that word correctly, but that slab quicker.
I did do it a little bit faster. I did do it faster last time I was out here. I'm trying to keep the wheels rolling.
Yes.
Yeah. I did a solo ride and I did the slab, and I was trying to go a little bit faster. Trying to keep the wheels rolling, trying not to skid. Being really conscious of that front brake, having most of the stopping power, keeping my eyes up. And really, when you're in that low position, when you have your chin over the handlebars and you're dynamic, that's the other thing that we haven't touched on here. And maybe in the slabs that are over so fast, maybe the dynamic isn't as matter as much, but we've also been talking about going down fast, loose, chunky downhills, right?
That's right.
Being dynamic and being able to move around on the bike, that is, I think there's just so much importance there. We talked about it a lot throughout this podcast, and I think we should probably be touching on it a lot more, because just being able to move around on the bike, and it all in the name of traction. I really like that. Like, to plant in my head traction. What is getting me the most traction here? You know, I want to be heavy in this part of the trail. I want to be light here so that I'm heavy here, right? It's that flowing through the trail and using your weight and using your body and moving your hips and moving your shoulders and your knees and keeping your eyes up and keeping centered. And anything is possible on the bike. We've seen this. Like, you watch mountain bike YouTube or Instagram or social media, like, and there is so much that's possible.
Yeah.
And that includes riding in control on things that look scary to you, whatever level that may be for you at this time, and not fall.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of this is coming because I've had some falls recently, some of which you could argue, you know, may have not been my fault. But look, I'm the one on the bike. I'm falling. So you could also argue that they are my fault. And you could win that argument very easily.
Your Honor,
corporate told me I lost that argument. They were like, corporate was like, yeah, Dan, it was your fault.
Yeah.
No one pushed you off of that bike. The only fall I could think of that wasn't his fault was poor Ryan when the javelina attacked him. That was not his fault.
That was not his fault. That is a story and a half. Yes.
Yes. And for anyone wondering, Ryan is in touch and he is starting physical therapy. He's healing. He's getting there. Yeah. So,
although he did give us a heart attack when he was like, what happened to the, he put up a post like,
I wanted to bring that up.
I literally was like, is it Wednesday
morning? Tuesday morning, we got an Instagram message from him. No pot today, guys. Is everything okay? And like, my heart was like, oh my God, what is it today? What happened? Yeah. And I was like, oh no, wait, no, he's confused, not us. And I messaged him back and he was just like, oh my gosh, I got so much going on. And he's got all these doctor's visits because of the crash. Yeah. Some other things he has going. Yeah. So, you know, it was an innocent mistake, but yeah, certainly scared us. Yeah. That was funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I have another. Oh, go ahead.
So as our listeners know as well, one of the only things that really sketches me out, it used to be jumps, but now I actually enjoy jumping. The last thing on my list that gets under my crawl or that I have a bugaboo with are loose trails. And in fact, I commented to you that Old Man is not a trail that I enjoy. And when I rode it, I did not have a good time. Yeah. And it's because of how loose that is. And I'm very uncomfortable in loose, steep terrain, loose terrain in general. But when it gets steep, I really get uncomfortable. As a traction guy, it makes sense that loose trails mess with your confidence. Well, I was watching some UCI downhill and I was watching the women's race. And one of the things that I noticed, Nina Hoffman, and my goodness, this lady was, first of all, the downhill track was like super steep. It was so loose and steep. Yeah. And her like knees and hips were like going the opposite direction of her bike. It was incredible. Wow. It was you could literally see the bike body separation. And I think that's what I want to work on. I think that I want to get better at Old Man. And I think the way that I'm going to do that is to really let myself get comfortable with that bike and my body going two different directions and then being able to bring that back
loose.
You know,
the trail's loose, you're loose. Yeah.
I want to be loose. Exactly. Yeah. I think a couple pods ago, we had talked about how you clench your knees together and grab that seat. By the way, I noticed a bunch of people on the UC that do that as well. So that's not a thing that's bad or good. It's just a technique.
Right.
Yeah.
I have noticed that as well. I've watched some YouTube videos where they were talking about that, whether or not it was better to, and in fact, I think Josh at Slanted Ground had a whole video that he did on riding with his knees wide or narrow. And he's kind of a narrow rider, not normally. And he didn't find widening the knees was giving him a advantage on every trail. You know, there's certainly exceptions. So that's really interesting.
Yeah. And so for referring back to what Nina was doing, there was occasions where she would flare her legs or knees out. And that was interesting, but it wasn't always. Sometimes she would just use her hips and she would throw her hips one way while the bike was swaying a different way, and she was keeping her knees close together. But she let the situation dictate how she was going to move. And we had just talked about being dynamic. That's being dynamic. Letting the trail, why did I accentuate that so weirdly? The terrain and the trail dictate how you move on the bike. You're reacting. I just thought, and she's doing it at the highest level on a timed race. And I just thought that was unbelievable. So that's what I want to work on. That's my next move.
Loose is dynamic. Dynamic is safe. Dynamic is fast, smooth, right? You know, when we're stiff, it just makes sense.
Yeah.
I like that you combine terrain and trail there. I realized when you misspoke, you were like, "Yeah, I've never heard that before." But I'm going to talk to the home. Yeah, I'm going to talk to the home office about see if I can pull some strings, get that put that into the mountain bike vernacular. I like that. We know some people.
Yeah,
it's really interesting. Two things is last episode I was talking about manifesting being a pro level rider, and you were like, "Is that too high?" And I was like, no, like I just want to be confident, you know, and I was just something I was writing, you know, and I say, we're here to live big. We're not here to play small. Like, go for it, you know, like pro level, like say it, you know, right. Put it out there.
Yeah.
And then I was watching the YouTube that you put together, you know, and you put in clips of pro level riders, like bombing down hills. And I was like, oh, geez, that looks pretty fast. Yeah. Maybe that bar was a little too high, but I still like saying it. But yeah, I mean, pro is such a lofty goal. I just want to be really confident. I want to be able to ride any trail. I want to be able to ride the double blacks with confidence, and I want to be able to ride the pro lines. Yeah. You know, like some pro lines we've done before, but there's certainly some pro lines that would, you know, scare the hard lines, you know what I mean? Like I'm not at that level yet, but anything's possible.
Yeah.
When you were talking about being dynamic, I just watched this video, Mountain Bike Academy, and he's talking about hip mobility and being mobile off the bike and then on the bike. So having that mobility, being able to do those stretches and have that core strength, but also being able to just move around. And I find that's something because I'm stiff on the bike, but I do a lot of stretching. I do a lot of mobility work. I do a lot of core work. I think I have the strength to do all of that. I just need to be able to loosen up and be able to do it on the bike, which is what you're talking about as well. I want to talk about, if you want to comment on that real fast, but I do want to talk about one other comment that we got from that podcast that I think was really insightful and goes right along with what we're saying.
The only thing that I want to comment on is you should have grace for yourself, because it's easy for me to say these things as a smaller rider. You know, I'm 5'7", you know, maybe on a good day.
Here comes my lanky. You're going to pull the lanky card?
I am, because as a taller rider, and anybody that's taller or larger in any aspect is going to notice how much more difficult it becomes to switch and sway your weight. And if your weight's in the wrong place as a taller person, you're going to feel that. You're going to feel that mistake a lot more than someone that's more compact to the bike. You know, if I'm holding a 5-pound weight out here, it's hard, but I guarantee if I was holding it at your arm's length, it gets really, really hard. And so when you make a mistake and your weight goes all the way out here, it's very hard to correct that on the bike. So have a little grace.
Okay. So there's 4 levels of slabs. And then if there's a lanky guy, like, you know, maybe a little bit of
4B,
4.1,
4.1.
Yeah, 4B. That's a level 4. And see the arms and legs on this gangly dude. That's easy a 4.5. Its weight's all over the place. I mean, if a breeze comes by, you know, it's dangerous when you're that tall. But I do appreciate the grace. I think just in general, just grace, you know, like we don't all progress to be able to be pro level right away. We don't wake up and we're not pro level. Maybe some people do. If you're listening to this podcast and that's happened, fantastic. But I think most of us that are listening are on that journey of let's have as much fun as we can and get as good as we can. And that's where we want to be.
Yep.
On the same episode, we haven't even gotten episode 19, which is the one that we're supposed to be talking about, but on episode 18 about the braking, and we're talking about riding loose, and we're talking about riding steep, sketchy, and making those turns at high speed. And Nathan was on that ride. Nathan runs Ride Reactive, which is awesome mountain bike apparel. So follow Ride Reactive on Instagram and check out their website. And it's great gear. And Nathan's an awesome rider, really fast downhill.
Really is, yeah.
And he, regarding that Old Man Trail where I did that washout and went down, he wrote, "You're on the right track, Dan. Body bike separation and staying off the front brake in flat corners is key. Brake early if you can, and if not, you're a lot safer smashing the back brake, so instead of the front brake. Sometimes counter steering can also save you from front tire washout. With all the stuff our trails throw at you, it's really easy to make that mistake. Weighting the outside pedal when you lean your bike over as well is key." I mean, there's a lot in there, and I think more than I could even digest on the trail. He gives 3 really important key things in there. But I couldn't go another podcast without mentioning it because I just thought it was an excellent comment.
Yeah, Nathan is, what makes Nathan so good is, and it's like everything in this podcast goes circle, full circle, but Nathan is really good at using his body and how he uses it on the bike. His control is just so, and you notice it because everything he does looks easy. He has that flow, and it just naturally just moving and flowing on that bike. And I do want to make a comment about smashing that back brake and all that. One of the things that's going to be tricky for you is you're a clipped rider and Nathan is on flats. And one of the things that you do when you do slam a brake or your back starts to wash out, if you're on flats, you can create a tripod. You can put your foot down. You can put your foot out, kind of catch yourself a little bit. As a clipped rider, that becomes really hard to do. So if you're a clipped rider, you're going to have to progress on this technique at a much slower pace. You're going to have to experiment with unclipping and trying to, maintain a turn, or you're just going to have to practice sliding that back wheel out and seeing where that limit is. When does it start sliding? How much is it sliding? How steep is the terrain? Are we on a level 4? Are we on level 3? You're going to have to do all those things and experiment a little bit more than someone that might be on flats.
When you are riding a steep, fast downhill trail, and Nathan's advice is try not to use the front brake, and if you want to slow down, smash the back brake. Not being able to kick your wheel out, I mean your foot out. I don't see him putting a foot out like a dirt bike rider and sliding around turns. You know what I mean? He had his feet on the pedals. What am I missing?
The most important part was the first part of his comment. Do all your braking early. That's the most important. That's the most important thing.
That's true.
And this goes back to, we talked about this. We're studying the trail. We're looking ahead. You're just not bombing down this stuff. I'm watching Nathan. As a rider, I can see his eyes are dialed 50, 100 feet down the trail. Depending on how fast you're going, you have to look farther down. He's already anticipating turns. He's anticipating rocks. He's doing his braking, not at the turn, not at the rocks. He's doing it 20, 30, 40, 50. It's all about control.
I followed him. It doesn't feel like he's doing much braking. I'll tell you that much.
And it won't. Right? It won't, because everything he does looks flowy and smooth. Yeah. And he's also using his bodies to jump around the trail. So he's pushing into the trail.
That's it.
He's getting light, but then he's getting heavy. And when he gets heavy, that's when he's buying the traction. So it's not just all braking is my point. He's able to dynamically move on the bike. The last part of his comment is what you were referring to, which is the slamming of the brakes. And he said as a last resort. And I'm saying, if you want to work on that, it's going to be really hard as a clipped rider. And when you're on flats, you can experiment more with, and I've seen people do this all the time where they'll let that back wheel either through braking or by doing a Scandinavian flick where they don't actually touch the brake and they just let that tire slide out. If they start to feel that going wide, they can stick their foot out, and you don't have that luxury as a clipped rider. So I'm just saying, be careful with that. You want to start slow.
You could use the technique, but
it's hard.
You can't bail out of it as easily if you're on flats.
But that's a last resort. Now that's a last resort.
He also talked Yeah, and he talked about weighting his outside pedal, which makes sense from a traction perspective, and you touched on that a little bit. So that's something that we could certainly talk more about. Getting heavy on the outside, in a turn, that makes sense. Like my logical brain says that makes sense. What about counter steering? Is that that's a whole separate podcast?
I cannot speak with any kind of authority or intelligence on counter steering. That is something that I have yet to even work on. I'm still working on regular steering. Like, we're talking about counter steering. We talk about counter steering. Yeah. I can't turn normal.
Not a regular turn. Not a regular turn. We talk about turning the other direction to go the other direction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would love to get to that level. And what we're talking about is your wheel is facing the opposite way that you're turning. You have so much force coming into this turn that you can actually turn the wheel the other way. That to me is incredible. That shows a tremendous amount of brain override, which is another thing that I struggle with right now, which is like overriding my brain. Like, hey, it's okay. You're going to be okay. And yeah, that exhibits a tremendous amount of control. And when I'm
driving in the winter, and it's Arizona now, so the winters here are awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. But when I'm driving in the ice, like you and I grew up in the Northeast. I got my permit when I was 15 and a half. I've been driving in the snow since I was 16. I was driving rear wheel drive cars when I was 16. That's what we had back then. Yeah. Growing up, the front wheel drive was barely even a thing. I had a 1986 Pontiac Firebird. Oh, now you got to find a picture of that car. It was a POS, but I loved it. And I had no problem understanding the concept of counter steering.
I know.
In the ice, I had no problem understanding that concept. But to do it on a trail when it's loose, and by the way, it's terrifying when you have to when you're sliding down a hill in a car that has no traction and you have to counter steer. It is terrifying.
Yeah,
but doing it on a bike, like I just haven't made that connection yet.
Well, again, grace for yourself. In a car, you're on four wheels.
Yeah.
You're not going to topple over forward or backwards in a car. You're also completely protected. On a bike. You get your weight wrong. You either go down and you slide down, or you go OTB. Yeah. And so it's much harder to commit to a counter steer. So grace for yourself there. I wish that I could speak more intelligently to that, but I cannot. But kudos to Nathan.
Okay. Ride and Laugh 1 at Gmail. YouTube comments, counter steering, anything that we're talking about today, anything you want to learn more about, anything that you want us to learn more about, look into more. Counter steering, I'm curious. It sounds like it's a level 4 turning technique.
Level 4, yes.
I'm at like level 1.5 when it comes to high speed turning. I'm great at slow speed switchbacks. I'm great at those.
Yes.
I can do a level 4 switchback. No, level 3.5. Yeah. Level 4, I think, like includes like moving your tires around and trials moves, like a level 4 switchback probably includes some hopping of some sort. So, but our sport just keeps providing more and more. There's always more and more challenge. Let's just do it safely so that we're not hitting the dirt and riding within our means and feeling good physically. Going fast is fun. Keeping up with your fast friends is fun. I get it. Like, I want to do that. I usually do that. But if you're hitting the deck, then back it off a little bit. What's more fun is not falling.
For sure. Wow, man. Another really great pod, man. Holy moly.
Yeah. Yeah. Really good conversation. I love these podcasts where we get into the details and we learn from each other.
Yeah.
We got to wrap it up, man. We got to get to our mountain bike gratitudes. Yeah. Awesome stuff.
Yes. I guess I will go. I have a very short, easy gratitude. And I was riding at Sears this weekend.
Oh, right. I wanted to ask you more about that. Boy,
it was a fantastic ride. Yes. We'll talk about it at some point, because this ride had a lot of lessons from the pod in it. And it was great. But on the way back, I have to cross over a bridge, and that bridge has a toll. And I somehow was still dreaming of the ride that we just had, and I got into the cash lane instead of the easy pass lane. And I said to the lady, I said, I have an easy pass. She's like, this is cash only. And I was like, well, I don't. Who carries cash? Like, no one carries cash. And she was going to make me get out, go all the way back around, get back in line. And the lady behind me paid my toll. She's like, I got him.
Oh, man.
So, you know what?
That's so cool.
It's so cool. So I gave her a big wave and a big thank you. And I plan on paying that forward. How often does that happen on the trail where somebody helps you out? And now I'm going to help somebody else out. I'm going to pay it forward. Yep. So thank you, whoever that was.
I love that. That's so cool. There's awesome people out there. Have you ever done that? You ever just pay for the person behind you?
No,
this is back in the day. Like,
yeah.
I mean, this is now it's Easy Pass. So, and people in Arizona, a toll is something where you have to pay money to drive on the road. We don't have those here in Arizona. It's amazing. Jeff Winder was teasing me because I was talking about gas and tolls, and he was like, "Tolls? We don't have tolls here." And I was like, "Oh yeah, we don't have tolls here." Yeah,
amazing.
It's pretty cool. But that is really cool that lady was just like, "Here, I'm gonna help you out and do you a solid." And that's not a cheap toll.
No,
going over that bridge was like $6 or $7. I don't know what it is now.
I know. You should buy her dinner.
Yeah. All right. My mountain bike gratitude of the week is going to be something we talked about last week. AJ, after I had my crash where I really scratched up my forearm, AJ said that his brother-in-law, who's a chiropractor, suggested Manuka honey.
Yeah.
And when I said it last week, you were like, "Oh yeah, the honey."
Yeah.
So I did buy this combo Manuka honey silver thing that I found on Amazon, and I've been using it. And I do think that it is accelerating the healing. I'm going to continue to play with it, and I'm sure I'll have other scrapes and scratches to try it on. A word of warning, though, is that this stuff stings. I put so much honey on it at night.
Yeah.
And then I wrapped it up and then it was just killing me, and it wasn't hurting that much during the day. And then I went like 2 or 3 nights where I had to take ibuprofen because it hurt so much. And I don't take any drugs. It hurt so much. I couldn't sleep.
Yeah.
And then I realized, because I'm putting the honey on so thick at night that it's actually, it's stinging the wound.
Wait, so what is the gratitude? Is the gratitude to the honey?
The gratitude is to the honey, to AJ for reaching out to his brother-in-law. Yes. And also just the honey, like for helping to heal. This was a pretty bad gash. I haven't mountain biked in 2 weeks because of this thing. It was a pretty good one. So, the honey helps me get back on my bike faster. I'm all for it. I'll put a link in the show notes if anybody wants to try it. The brand that I got on Amazon, it seems pretty good. It does say that it's like for animals and humans. But like there's like people talking about like healing wounds for their horses and stuff like that with this thing. So
All right. Mountain bike tip. Yes. I was going to do my mountain bike tip with about the turning in the corner, because that is something that I wanted to bring up using a rock in a turn. But the tip that I had written down is actually right from the Gold Canyon video. And that was a tip on how to do a really tight uphill switchback. And it was a move that I noticed I did. And I've noticed I've done this move several times. And so as you're coming up on a tight switchback, and a switchback, for those who don't know what a switchback is, it is when you change directions on a trail very drastically. So you're making a 180, you're going right and now you're going left very quickly. And on an uphill,
the trail switches back on itself.
That's right. And an uphill switchback, sometimes it's really difficult to do. And one of the things that I noticed that I do is I actually do a front wheel lift. And so the way I time this out is I actually take my dominant foot, I ratchet it back, and I actually power forward, almost like if I was going to do a papa wheelie. You're going to take that and you're going to swing your bike around. Oh, I did that really nicely on my swivel chair, by the way. If you weren't watching on the YouTube, that was very nice. Dominant foot, crank back, lift up on the front, and lift and plant down on the switchback. It is fantastic. It works wonders. You do have to get used to like how much power you apply to lift up and push down, but it should help immense amounts on that switchback. So that is my mountain bike tip.
Excellent tip. That's something I've used as well. That is a level 3.5 uphill switchback move.
That's a pretty high level.
I mean, that's a pretty high level move. When I think a lot of people, when they climb, they want to be in the absolute easiest gear when it gets steep. Yeah. And including me. Yeah. And I want to be able to spin. And I have noticed when I'm out here playing with these really steep, long uphill climbs, and then there's a switchback and you're out of gas, but sometimes being in that harder gear, it gives your pedals the tension and to be able to make a move like that, or to be able to just keep the wheels moving without spinning out. And if it's steep enough, you can be in the easiest gear and still get that move, but it is harder. You have less room for error. And that is a pretty cool thing. And it happens much more naturally than you would think.
That's right.
What Sage is describing,
yes,
if you've never done it before, you might think like, oh my gosh, that sounds incredibly hard. But if you go to an uphill switchback and you just start playing with it, it's actually pretty easy to power down the front pedal and at the same time lift that front wheel just a little bit to be able to rotate.
That's right.
Yeah. It's just going to move it a little bit. It just kind of, I don't know that that's something I ever learned. It's just something that I noticed happened, and now it's part of my repertoire. It wasn't something that, someone ever taught me.
Yeah.
But it's in there.
Yep.
All right. Excellent tip. If you're still listening, you are definitely one of us. You love mountain biking. You are here for mountain biking. You enjoy mountain biking. You're stoked to mountain bike. We appreciate you. Please rate and subscribe on your podcast player. Please give us a thumbs up on YouTube. Please leave us a comment that helps the algorithm. Tell your friends, forward the podcast that you like to your buddies, to your riding buddies. And everyone have a great week. RideLife1 at Gmail if you have any questions or comments or anything that you want to hear about. And certainly leave us comments. We love your comments. Everyone have a great week and a great week of riding. Ride left.
I'll see everyone.